wanted to say very quickly, so some of you may know, may not know, that occasionally we receive messages via InstaWeb from our glorious CEO, Marcello. Sometimes from like 3 o'clock in the morning, some, I don't know what's going on with the man. But he sent through a story, a reel, through to me a while ago, and I thought it was another one in there, right? However, it absolutely piqued my interest quite quickly. And it was from something that I didn't really understand at the time called the 30% rule. And when I looked at it, it wasn't just what it was about that pitched an interest with me. It was what he was talking about, what was going on, the passion that was there, and it just linked directly for me into the Art and Carlo that we launched last year. And we'd already started talking about how we can elevate the experience of our guests and our people within San Carlo. So I kind of went into quite a deep rabbit hole, as you do with quite a lot of stuff that Marcello sends us on Instagram. And we then made the decision that actually we felt that this was the right way for us to go. This wasn't just talking a different language, this was talking for me about the Art of San Carlo, but it was about that elevation of hospitality. So we made contact with the 30% rule to the main man himself, Preston Lee. We met him and his team over online a couple of months ago now. And there was just something that clicked. It just worked. It felt right. The language was the same language that we were talking about. And then Marcello and I had the pleasure last night of meeting with Preston for dinner. And for me again, he kind of lives what we're trying to do, what we've been talking about this morning. So we flew the guy over, and I'm absolutely thrilled to bring to the stage for the next couple of hours Mr. Preston Lee from the 30%.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Is this on? Yes? Okay. Thank you for that introduction. That was amazing. I appreciate it. And thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me be a piece of this. I take it as a huge honor to be a part of these things, especially with leaders like you. I do a lot of research on brands. I study successful brands. I study them because I try and look for things that can help me be successful and that I can pass on to other people. And you guys are in a very, very small percentage of success when it comes to restaurants. Very, very small. When you're talking about someone who owns multiple units, it goes down to like 5%. When you talk about someone who's had a business for over 10 years in the restaurant industry, it goes down to 3%. So when you're talking about over 25 years, over 24 locations, you're talking about 0.000001, and you guys are all a part of that, and it's all because of leadership. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit more detail. But first things first, my name's Preston Lee. I started the 30% rule. And the reason why I started the 30% rule is because I obsess over hospitality and experience. I obsess over those two things. There's two reasons why I obsess over it. Okay? When I say obsess, I mean it. I fall asleep, I'm thinking about hospitality. When I wake up, I'm thinking about hospitality. When I'm taking a shower, I'm thinking about hospitality. And the reason why is two reasons. One is because I love it. I love hospitality. I love guest experience. I don't think anybody in this room does not love hospitality in some way, shape, or form. Hospitality is a really, really good way for a business to add value to your money. If you go and spend your money at a business, it could be a restaurant, it could be a hotel, it could be you getting your nails done, you getting your hair cut, tires changed, whatever it is, you spending your hard-earned money at a business, hospitality is a way they show you value. They show you that they appreciate you. They show you that you're valued, that they care about you. And just like everyone in this room, I'm sure when you go into a business, you don't want to feel like you don't matter. You don't want to feel like you're just a number. Right? And so hospitality is a communicator of that. So hospitality, I love it. That's why. I also love being fully immersed. I love being transported. I love walking through doors and feel like you're walking through a portal into another world. Right? And there's brands that do that really well. The Ritz-Carlton, for example, does that in spades. The Ritz-Carlton, when you go into a Ritz-Carlton, it's an amazing experience. Not because the property is beautiful. That does help. But it's because of the people. So the Ritz-Carlton versus a Marriott hotel, right? The Ritz-Carlton's 4 times more money for a room than a Marriott, right? 4 times more money. But the property is not 4 times more valuable. The room is not 4 times more valuable. The room isn't 4 times bigger. And when you do the research, they did a study on all the people that stayed at the Ritz-Carlton. 80% of them don't even use the amenities, which means 80% of people that come to the Ritz-Carlton are going there, staying in the room, and then leaving. That's all they're doing. So why would someone pay 4 times the money if they're not there to enjoy the amenities? Because it's not the room. If you ever stay at the Ritz-Carlton, it's not 4 times better than a Marriott. So why? It's because they're paying for hospitality. They're paying knowing when they go to the front desk, they're going to be dealing with professionals at a high level. They're paying knowing if they have an issue, that's going to get fixed with a smile on their face. They know if they call the front desk and ask for something, they're going to get it. They're paying not to deal with BS. That's what they're paying for. And people will pay for that because, again, hospitality equals luxury, it equals value. You're adding value to the check without costing you anything, right? If you're going to make the steak bigger and add value that way, you can. That's going to cost you money. Hospitality is a way we already use the people that are in our business that we're already paying to add value to the check and give value to the guests and honestly honor them. Honor the people that come in and support us and support our business. The reason why we're the size we are, or you're the size that you are, you have had the success you've had is because of the people that walk in the door, right? So we honor them by doing that. So if you go to the Ritz-Carlton, they train everybody to give it an experience, right? So if there's a gardener cutting a lawn and you walk by him, he's going to stop what he's doing. He's going to look you in the eyes and go, "Hi, how are you today? Welcome." If there's a janitor cleaning the floors in the bathroom, or if there's a housekeeping cleaning a room and coming out of the room while she's cleaning to go to her cart, and she sees you, or the janitor sees you, they're going to stop what they're doing, and they're going to look at you and go right in the eyes and authentically say, "Hi, how are you today? Welcome. Thank you for being here. Is there anything I can help you with? Anything you need?" Every person in the room is trained. That's full immersion, right? Full immersion. So when you walk in, you're like, I am being taken care of. I am VIP. I'm being pampered. That's a hospitality experience. They're already paying the janitor. They're already paying the gardener. Now all they're doing is training them properly. Mindset and focus. Everybody in the room is bought into the same mission, the same experience. That's full immersion hospitality. That's branded hospitality, not just being nice. I'm a server being nice to the guest. That's a completely different experience. Another one is Disneyland. Has anybody traveled to visit Disneyland here? Or Disney World? Disneyland and Disney World is a great case study. They do a great job of immersion. If you ever go to a Disneyland, there's so much detail in everything, but not only in the buildings and the rides, but also in the people. They're all wearing uniforms in different lands. They all act a certain way, but they're all hospitable. Even the janitors, again, are trained. They sweep a certain way. They're synchronized. So it gives it a certain feel and a certain look. Again, if you see a janitor cleaning at Disneyland, you walk by him, he's going to stop and say, "How you doing today? You having a magical day? Anything I can help you with?" Everyone's bought in. Everyone's part of the experience. And so that's what I mean when I say full immersion hospitality. I absolutely love it. Now, there's another reason why I obsess over it. The second reason is because it's dying. And I can, again, have everybody in this room use yourself as a case study. Do you feel like you're valued when you go out and spend your money every time? No matter what you're doing, when you're going to spend your money with a company that you're giving your hard-earned money to, which you trusted because there's options, and you trusted this company to give your money to, are you feeling valued? Are you feeling VIP? Are you feel like they're going over above and beyond for you? Or is that just reserved for a certain amount of people spending a certain amount of money? Right? That's the difference. So when I go out to eat, or if I even go spend my money, my goal, my hope is that I just don't get pissed off. I don't leave in a worse mood than I came in. I don't get irritated. Because that's what's going to happen. You're going to get irritated. For example, if I call my bank and my bank made a mistake, they made a mistake, and I have to call them to fix it, I'm not getting on the phone going, "Man, this is going to be fast. It's going to be super pleasant, and I know they're going to do something to make up my lost time." I get on the phone saying, "Just don't piss me off, please. Just fix the problem and don't piss me off." That's a horrible way to run a business, but that's how it is. There's a couple of reasons why hospitality is dying, and that's in every industry, across the board. In the United States, too, across the board. And a couple of reasons are, first of all, we have a new workforce coming into play, Gen Z. They're coming in, and they're going to be a majority of the workforce before we know it. And I have a mentor of mine. He helps people with finances. And so he taught me something that I've always encapsulated, but he said, "You know, Preston, a lot of people complain about the government. When they come to me and I'm helping them with their finances, they say the government does this, the government does that, the government does this, the government does that, and they just complain, complain, complain. And he said, I always tell them, you have two options. Option A, you can complain. Option B, you can learn the rules that they've set out, and you can play to win. I recommend we go down option B, where we learn the rules and play to win. Gen Z is not going to be easy to train. They're not easy to train. They're not bought in. They operate completely differently than we do. And so we have to learn the rules of the game. How do we create and cultivate an environment where Gen Z can thrive? Okay, number 2, post-COVID mindsets. After COVID, everything changed. You guys agree with that? Are you guys feeling that? It didn't just reset. We're not like, oh, everything went back to normal. That COVID thing was crazy, but everything went back to normal. It didn't reset, it changed everything, including the way people bought in, including the level of work ethic and built into people. Because people got free money and said, oh, this is nice. I like working, I like getting money and not having to work for the money. And so it set the mindset in the wrong direction for us. And then the third thing is AI. AI is changing the way people learn and understand information. We're not saying we need AI in our business. Yes, we do, but that's not what this is about. This is about the fact that we're understanding that people are learning differently. There is going to be a whole generation that comes into your business that's never had to write a piece of paper from scratch, right? They never had to write an essay from scratch, an email from scratch. Everything is written for them, and then they edit it. We all in this room remember a time when we had to go write something out, right? We had to write a document out. We're like, here we go, word number 1, word 2, word 3, and we built it from the top to the bottom up. Now, AI builds everything for you. You just adjust it. That's a completely different way of doing things. We have to understand that's going to have an impact psychologically. So we have to be prepared for these things, and that's what it's all about. We're future-proofing. This isn't saying we're fixing something that's broken right now. We're saying we're preventing something broken in the future. Elon Musk, whatever you think of him, runs a very successful business. Tesla, they have a department of failure. And all this department does is predict where they will fail and how they will fail, and then how to prevent it. This is what this is. We're preventing failure today. So this isn't here saying something's wrong, broken. We're fixing something for the future. So first things first, I want to talk about the top 4 reasons people quit a job, because that's really important to understand in the situation. And now there's 2 ways of quitting. There's quitting, like I quit and I walk out the door and I no longer work here anymore. And then there's quietly quitting. Have you guys ever do you guys know what quietly quitting is? Can anybody tell me? Yeah, so people disengage and they do less. So basically, quietly quitting is just this. I no longer care about this job, but I want the paycheck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work. My job now is to do everything I can to not get fired. That's it. So as long as I don't get fired, it's a success. That's quietly quitting. That's exponentially worse than someone who quits. I'd rather someone on a busy night, we're understaffed, quit in the middle of their shift and walk out, and I have to pick up the slack that night, than them quietly quit for the next 6 months. Because when you quietly quit, you're quietly a cancer, quietly a poison in the business that's killing guest retention, killing sales, killing brand value, killing employee relationships. It's very, very detrimental. We want to get them out of the business as fast as possible. But first things first, what we want to do is prevent them from quitting or quietly quitting. So instead of blaming them, oh, this person quietly quit, so their failure, it's their fault, how do we prevent them from quietly quitting in the first place? Because again, Gen Z is the fastest generation to quietly quit, fastest generation to quit, right? Everyone in this room takes pride in having a job. Everyone in this room takes pride in not getting fired or not quitting, right? Seeing things through, working through the hard situations to get better. But Gen Z is the first generation where they're just like, they'll walk out the door in a drop of a dime, walk right out the door and then post online like they're bragging about it. That's what it is. We know the rules now. How do we play to win? So, top 4 reasons people quit a job or quietly quit. Can anybody guess what number 1 is? Wild guess. Yes, leadership. Number 1, leadership. Everybody in this room. Underdeveloped leadership or poor leadership or, heaven forbid, bad leadership. But underdeveloped leadership is just as bad as bad leadership. Underdeveloped, right? Leadership is the number 1 reason, and everybody in this room, again, can use yourself as a case study. You've worked for someone where you're like, I want to quit because of that manager. I want to quit. That's how unpleasant it is to work with them, or not because they're mean, but because they don't know what they're doing, or they're not focused on the right things, right? So everyone in this room. Anyone guesses what number 2 is? This is a hard one. I know you guys are having thoughts in your head. I just want you to shout it out. And don't be embarrassed. Ooh, who said learning? Yes. Oh, 2 for 2. He didn't get the answers, I swear. Poor training is number 2. So if you don't train your staff properly, they're going to want to leave, right? You got to understand, what we want to do is get your staff fully bought in. We want them fully bought in and excited about working here. That's how we're going to get the most success out of them. First and foremost, poor training is the fastest way to lose buy-in, like that. If I get trained poorly, if you're like, yeah, here's the basics, now go figure it out, sink or swim, you either got it or you don't, figure it out, you're going to fail. They're not going to be bought in. Just like you guys, if you get hired somewhere and they give you bad training, and you're like, I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, I don't feel like they care about me, I don't feel like they know what they're doing, now I want to leave. I'm looking for the exit door as soon as I can. I'm going to quietly quit for now, and then as soon as another opportunity comes in, I'll fully quit. Right? So training is absolutely crucial. What do you guys think number 3 is? And this is the hardest one.
Not rewarding enough.
Not rewarding enough is in the top 10, but it's not the third one. But that's a good guess.
It's gonna be stuck in the same position in terms of like not having promotions.
Ooh, yes. Who else said something over here? Oh my God, 2 in a row. Yes. Good job. Wow. It usually takes like 10 minutes to get to here. What's that? Oh, all right. Lack of growth. Lack of growth. So if you're not growing in your role, you will want to quietly quit. Now, I would tell you guys, use yourself as case studies. Humans, by nature, we have to grow. We have to feel growth. Otherwise, we get stagnant, we get jaded, we get unhappy. We have to grow. So growing doesn't mean that we're going to give them more money, and growing doesn't mean that we're going to give them a promotion, a title change. Growth is just training them on new things consistently. So a lot of the times what restaurants and businesses do is they just say, here's 10 days of training, here's 7 days of training. All right, good luck. If you do anything wrong, I'll let you know. That's the most lackluster training you can give. We want full-blown training, continuous training that doesn't end. We want to keep setting milestones for them to get better. We want them to master their positions, not expect them to figure out how to master their positions. So lack of growth is huge. And what do you think number 4 is? And this is an easy one. Yes, pay. So people tell me all the time, it's pay, it's not pay, right? Oh, well, the food runner's not making enough, the host isn't making enough, whatever it is, it's not pay. The line cook's not making enough, it's not pay. Figure out these top 3 things, tell me you have these top 3 things mastered, and then we could talk about if it's pay or not. Okay, and so I want to set this tone right now. I hope you guys have something to write with, but note takers are money makers. If you guys see something that you like, write it down. If you guys are here not writing something down and then not applying it, you've wasted your own time. So if you see something that you like, write it down, put it in your notes app, whatever it is. But note takers are money makers, guys. And who agrees with this quote that knowledge is not power? Raise your hands. Okay, well, I believe that knowledge is not power. Knowledge with action is power. If you don't take action with the knowledge that you obtained, then what's the point of having the knowledge? If there's a guy who studies Kung Fu for 6 years reading books, and there's a guy who goes into a Kung Fu studio and gets his face punched in for 6 months, who are you putting your money on? Who are you putting your money on, guys? Yeah, the guy that's getting his face punched in, right? The guy reading books, great that you have the knowledge, you're not putting it into action, what's the point? All for nothing. And this is a big one, and I'll tell you this might be the biggest piece of advice I can give you going into this presentation, is do not let your past dictate your future success. I cannot tell you how many times I've had people that come in and they're like, I already tried that, Preston. I already know this, Preston. I've already mastered this, Preston. I get it, Preston. You might have tried something in the past, but you might have tried it at the wrong time. You might have tried it with the wrong people. You might have tried it the wrong way. You might not have tried it long enough. That's a small sample size. All I'm asking you to do is come in here with an open mind. Look for things that can make you more successful, not things that you disagree with to say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Do not let your past dictate your future success. We've all trained someone. Everybody in this room has trained someone where they're sitting there going, I know better. I'm not going to listen because I know better, I know best. I know a better way, I know best. We don't want to be those people. Okay, one last thing. I have a favor from you guys, because we're going to be here for 2 hours. I want to keep the energy up. Is there any chefs in here? Chefs? Yeah, raise your hand above your head if you're a chef. Chef. With some pride, guys, with some pride. I'm proud of my job. I'm a chef. All right. If I can have your permission, if you're a chef in here, and this is for everybody, but I need a permission from chefs first. If you guys agree with something I say today, would you mind giving me a yes, chef? Yes, chef. Do I have your permission, chefs? Yes, chef. All right. So that was like half the room. Can I get like a resounding yes, chef? Can I get just one big yes, chef? Yes, chef. Okay, this room is like dead silent. This side. Can I get a yes, chef, guys? Come on, please. Yes, chef. Yes, chef. Thank you. One more time on this side. Yes, chef. Yes, chef. Back here. Yes, chef. Yes, chef. Thank you. I flew from California. I promise you I'll make it worth it. All I'm asking you to do is keep the energy up. And I promise you I'll make it worth it. So focus and innovation. Those are two things we want to focus on as a leadership team going into 2026. Focus and innovation. Everything can be distilled into focus and innovation. All of your problems can be distilled into focus and innovation. What are we focused on? What's our number one focus? Right? Your to-do list is probably, sorry? Guests, yeah, 100%. Your to-do list is probably never ending. You guys probably all have long to-do lists. And you have a to-do list because everything on that list is important. Correct? Yes, chef. Correct, guys? Okay, we got to focus on what is important. What comes first, right? What do we focus on, number one? And then innovation. I'm going to tell you this right now. This is the biggest thing that I see restaurant leaders suffer from the most. They're not innovative. They're stuck in their ways, but they're not innovative. We have to innovate the way we train. We have to innovate the way we run our businesses. We have to innovate everything that we do as leaders. That's what's going to make you the most successful. What are we doing to innovate, or are we just doing things the old way, the way they were taught? Same thing over and over and over again. Basically what I'm saying is you have to have a growth mindset. How do we constantly get better? And innovation is the number one key to that. Michael Jordan has his famous quote, and I truly believe that Michael Jordan is one of the most strongest examples for a leader, because Michael Jordan wasn't just a good basketball player. The reason why he was so successful was because he made everybody around him better. If you look at Michael Jordan's teams and the teams he played with, he didn't have super, super talented players besides him. He had good players, Pippen, Rodman, but he didn't have crazy talented players next to him. It wasn't like the big three nowadays. But what he did was he made everyone around him better through leadership. He didn't accept low standards. He didn't accept subpar. He made everyone around him better. If you go join the Bulls while Michael Jordan was playing, you were going to leave a better player. And he would make sure of that. He would do everything it takes to do that. And this is a quote from Michael Jordan where he says, "Earn your leadership every day." And I'm telling you right now, this philosophy and this mindset is what separates good leaders from great leaders. Earn your leadership every day. Because leadership is a responsibility and a privilege. Everyone in this room, leadership is a responsibility and a privilege. I don't care if you're a supervisor at McDonald's. Leadership is a privilege and a responsibility. And when you're working with an elevated brand like this, it's an even bigger responsibility and a bigger privilege. And so first of all, it's a responsibility, because our job, ultimately, our job is to develop the people underneath us. That's where our skill set truly lies. There's 25 locations. There's going to be more to come. The way we scale, and the way we scale well, is how well we can develop the people. How well your ownership team can develop the managers, the GMs, and the director of operations. How well can we develop them to develop the people underneath them in their stores? If the ownership team can't develop the GMs, that restaurant's going to be a disaster. Nobody wants that. So their skill set lies in how well can we develop our GMs. Our GM skill set lies in how can we develop our managers. Our our skill set lies in how well we can develop the people underneath us. So we are here to develop people at a high level. That's what it is. We have a responsibility to that. Leave them better off than we found them. So it's not just about developing people in the restaurant. If I'm sitting here saying, I'm going to teach you how to be the best server, I'll fail. But if I say, I'm going to teach you how to be the best version of yourself, and through that, the best server, you'll have a lot of success. You'll see it. That's the difference between highly successful organizations and successful organizations. So we have a responsibility to the people underneath us to develop them at the highest level possible. We also have a responsibility to the guest to make sure that we're honoring their money and their time, respecting them. Huge responsibility to the guest. And then lastly, we have responsibility to the ownership. Because ownership is coming to you, and they're saying, I'm trusting you with the keys, right? I have a vision. I have a vision that I want to execute. I can't do it on my own. I can't be in every single location, every day, every time. I'm trusting you to bring my vision to life. So we have a responsibility to ownership to honor that and to bring it to life as much as humanly possible. That is our job. That's why we are leaders. Ultimately, that's what we're doing. Why we're doing all the things we're doing is to bring that vision to life. So it's very important that we understand those three things. And so when we talk about developing the people underneath us, right, you might already be feeling this as leaders. You guys might already be feeling this feeling of the Gen Z, right? They're not bought in. They are so hard to manage, right? They're not as willing to work as hard. They don't want to work as many hours. And not even Gen Z, but people in general. You just feel it, right? They're just not there yet. We have to develop them as people in order to develop them as employees ultimately. And I'm going to show you some case studies to prove that. But I want to start with this. Who here has heard of Napoleon Hill? Raise your hand if you heard of Napoleon Hill. Okay, so Napoleon Hill is an author, very famous author, very, very old. He's written books, numerous books. If you're going to read one of his books, I suggest Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill has created more millionaires and more billionaires than any real estate market, any stock market. Because he changes the way people think. He changes their mindset. He's all about mindset, changing your mindset, basically getting you out of paycheck to paycheck mentalities. We want to teach this to our teams. We want to give our teams the most tools to be as successful as possible, because a lot of them are falling into traps that are going to make them not very successful and living a life that they weren't signing up for in the first place. We have to give them the tools to be successful. And so this quote encapsulates it perfectly. The man who does more than what he's paid for will soon be paid for more than what he does. So the man who does more than what he's paid for will soon be paid for more than what he does. Right now, the culture is 2026, Gen Z. The new culture is you get paid more and then you do the work. You never do more than what you're supposed to get paid for. You're never supposed to guardrails, this, that, work-life balance. But no matter what, if you want to be successful, and it depends if you want to be successful. Some people, their goal isn't to be super successful. That's not what appeals to them. But if we want to give our team the opportunity to be as successful as possible, it's this, because this will never change. This quote will never change. AI will never change this. The government will never change this. Nothing will ever change this quote. The man who does more than what he's paid for will soon be paid for more than what he does. And chances are, if you're in this room, you already abide by this philosophy. That's why you're in this room. Because you were doing more than what you were paid for, you proved to ownership that you are an asset, and they're asking you now to run the business, right? Or you came in and said, I can do all these things, and you proved to ownership that they were willing to hire you because you have this philosophy. We have to teach this philosophy to our staff. The man who does more than he's paid for will soon be paid for more than what he does. And I'll give you an example. On social media, I had someone reach out to me, and they said, I posted on something on social media, and I'm going to talk about this later about hospitality, but it was unconditional hospitality, and I said, hospitality has to be selfless. I hope you guys understand that, truly. Hospitality has to be a selfless act. That's what makes it hospitality. If you're not selfless in hospitality, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And you have to go above and beyond for the guest every single time. Every single time. You have to put in that effort and that passion. And someone commented, and she said, if my job wants me to do more, they have to pay me more. And I want you to think about that mentality for a second, because I guarantee you it lives in more of your staff than not. But I always tell people, if you're making $20 an hour and you want to make $25 an hour, which of course you do, and you say, okay, well, pay me $25 an hour and I'll do $25 an hour worth of work, but I will not do more than $20 an hour worth of work. I put guardrails up. I put this up, respect, I work-life balance. I will not do more work. You must pay me more first. If that's your philosophy, then you're always going to be worth $20 an hour. To be worth $25 an hour, to get paid $25 an hour, you have to prove to the market that you're worth that pay first. But now they're putting the cart before the horse, and we have to reverse that mindset. The man who does more than what he's paid for will soon be paid for more than what he does. Might be one of the most important quotes that you have in your training with your team. And this is what I talk about when I say we want to leave them better off than we found them. We're not saying serve from your left, clear from your right. We're saying we want to make you the best version of yourself. And so I want to talk about really quickly who this is for, who this presentation is for. So first things first, this is for the new leaders. If you're a new leader in here, year old or less, you're excited, I'm going to give you tools and mindset to be as successful as possible for what I can offer you. But this is also for the coasting managers. And I'm not saying there's any of you are a coasting manager in here, but if you are, this is for you. Okay? What is a coasting manager? You show up and you get through the day. Most days are just putting fires out. You don't hate your job, but you don't feel excited. You stop believing real change is possible, and growth feels like a nice idea, but not an option, not a real option. They have a term for this. It's called bored out and languishing. This is an actual study that they've done about coasting in a job. When you coast, basically, I'm just going to show up, and I'm not going to put any effort. I'm just going to just do the bare minimum, right? We talked about it, right? Quietly quitting almost. So bored out. Your role, it no longer stretches you. Okay, that's a problem. That means you're not being challenged in your role. You're not having any growth. You're just doing the same thing over and over again. Languishing. Over time, that lack of challenge drains your energy, hope, and belief in the future. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're just under challenged and under engaged right now. And if nothing changes, so let's say I'm a coasting manager and nothing changes. I don't change anything, or a coasting leader. Then your confidence in leading shrinks. And if you're a coasting manager, you're probably already feeling it, right? You don't feel confident as a leader, as confident as you once did. Your belief in growth fades. You don't believe growth is possible as much. Days blur together. You stop seeing yourself as someone who builds things, and years can pass quietly, then decades, and then it's what happened. There's also a lot of studies on mental health. Your mental health is lowered when you're coasting, and your future success is really, really, really tampered with because you're changing your mindset and you're training yourself habits that are really hard to get out of once you go into coasting. You're building habits every single day. I want to get anybody who might be in that out of that. That's my goal today. There's also going to be people that are just in flat denial. Say that's not me, and it's you. And that's okay too. I can't do anything about that. The growth mindset. This is for the manager or the leader who's like, I want to learn, I want to grow, I can't learn enough. I know that I'm chasing excellence always. I'm not set in my ways. I always want to evolve. I always want to change. I always want to get better. I'm here to get any tools I possibly can. I'm here to offer you that. And so first things first, if I can get a raise of hands, who here is in personal development? Like I want to develop as a person. Raise your hand above your head if you want to develop yourself as a person, as a human being. So pretty much everybody in this room. All right, so personal development. I'm sure for those of you, everyone in this room raise your hand. Whenever I go into a room, everyone raises their hand usually because they wanted to grow as a person. I want to get better. I want to do better. I want to be better, which is an awesome thing. But a lot of people don't get better, don't do better, don't be better. They don't do the work, not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but just that they don't put a game plan together. So I want to start with this. Has anybody ever heard of Kaizen before? What is it? Yes, exactly. Someone else say something? Okay, so yeah, it's for the growth mindset. Kaizen, Japanese philosophy of getting 1% better every single day. Just 1% better every single day. What I do, and I recommend you do if you're serious about growth and you want to start putting a game plan together, blueprint together to where your daily practice is growth, is setting an alarm on your phone at 8 a.m. every day. It goes off, and it's labeled what? Go back to sleep. What is it labeled, guys? Throw a wild guess out. Kaizen. So you set an alarm, 8 a.m. on your phone every single day. It's labeled Kaizen. It goes off every day. You don't ignore it. You look at it, and you think, how did I get 1% better yesterday? If I didn't, why didn't I? And what the heck am I going to do to make sure I get 1% better today? What's going to be my focus? I'm not holding my team accountable enough. Okay, I'm going to go in. I'm going to make sure if I see something I don't like, I'm going to hold that person accountable today. I'm going to have that difficult conversation I've been putting off for a long time, whatever it is. But 1% better every day. But if you want personal development and you're doing nothing for personal development, that doesn't make a lot of sense. There has to be a game plan in mind. So Kaizen, 1% better every day. And the reason why this is so effective is because too much change at once is a bad thing. And I'm sure we've all felt that as employees, where we're like, guys, from the top, stop freaking sending us changes. Sorry. Every company does that. I'm not saying it's you guys. Every company, including my own, right? They have to stop me and go, Preston, give us a second here. And so I always use like dieting as an example. If I was to go on a diet tomorrow and I was going to cut out carbs, cut out sugar, eat 1,000 calories a day, and work out twice a day, but just for 1 year, every single day, how long do you guys give me? 6 weeks. Thank you. You give me a week? Who else? 48 hours. All right, 2 days. What about over here? What do you give me? A day. Who said that? Can you please wait outside? Thank you. I'm joking. What about over here? What do you give me, sir? Right here in the glasses? Yeah. 6 days. All right. Thank you, by the way, very much. I went to I did one of these events, and I asked that question, and everyone almost at the same time said, 1 day. It's like, thanks a lot, guys. Yes, but it's not going to be a long time. 48 hours, maybe. 48 hours. Maybe, right? A week, maybe. Because it's too much change at once. It's too much change. We got to just slow down the change, but we want to get better. We want to focus on getting better, because if we get 1% better in one category for 100 days, what is that? 100%, yes. Do you guys agree with that? Yeah. All right. Let's try that one more time, guys. Do you guys agree with that? Yes, chef. Do you guys agree with that? Do you guys agree with that over here? All right. So Kaizen, 1% every day. So as we go into this, in life, framing is everything. Framing is everything, the way you frame things. Really simple analogy for this is a glass half full or half empty. Really simple, right? And everyone, oh yeah, okay, I get it, right? But do you get it? Do you understand how powerful that is? Do you understand how much of a different philosophy that is? What type of person will say half empty? What type of person will say half full? Because it's a big freaking difference in a lot of categories with a lot of psychology behind it. And if we go into the happiness loop, which is a study they did with hospital janitors, and they interviewed nationwide in the United States hospital janitors. And they were able to divide them up into two categories after these interviews. One category, they asked them, what do you do for a living? They said, we clean. We clean bathrooms, we clean hallways, we sterilize things, we throw the trash out, we clean. The other group said, we heal. I heal people. I help heal people. And without us, without me sterilizing things, throwing things out, wiping things down, cleaning things, the nurses couldn't do their jobs, the doctors couldn't do their jobs, the surgeons couldn't do their surgeries. So we contribute to the health of the nation. We help people get better as a group. Those are two different mindsets, two completely different mindsets. And the mindset that said we heal, they were happier, they had better mental health, and they made more money because their attitude was better in the workplace, which led to more raises. So framing is everything, and how you look at life is everything, and it's going to play a big part in this. And as we get into this presentation, I want to talk about 80-20. 80-20 rule is basically saying 80% of your problems are psychological, 20% of them are execution. So what that means is 80% of your problems are being resourceful, 20% are needing resources. So I get this all the time from leaders. Preston, I need more staff, I need more money, I need more time, whatever it is. But a lot of times, 80% of the time, a problem could be solved by being resourceful. And we get this all the time with our staff. Our staff walks up to us, and they're like, I need a solution. I need this, something's going wrong, I need your help. And you guys don't have a book, right? You guys don't own a book that has alphabetical order with all the problems. What does that letter start with? What does that problem start with? Right? No. You solve the problem on your own. You guys figure it out. You guys be resourceful. You're like, let me think about it. Okay, here's what we're going to do. But then with leadership, when they go up to the next level, all of a sudden their resourcefulness stops. I need things to be successful, but 80% of the time, it's going to be being resourceful. And so as we go into this, over 30 years of success, still busy, still popular, still amazing brand, right? Everyone's doing great. The brands are doing great, super successful. But what's really important is not to rest on your laurels. We don't want to be the brand that says we're doing great. We're doing great, so nothing needs to change. We're doing great, so why would we change anything, right? What's the problem? We're not fixing it because we're future-proofing. We're future-proofing the brand. We're future-proofing the business by making sure we're seeing any pitfalls, avoiding any pitfalls, because right now I can guarantee you some of your locations, some of your leadership, some of your teams are already falling into those pitfalls, and you could probably feel it. So we have to adapt the philosophy of what got us here won't get us there. What got us here to the success metric now is not going to get us to the next place. Right? It's not going to take us to the next level. It's going to keep us at this level. We have to innovate as a team. The leadership team is the ones that are the innovators. You guys are the innovators. If you ever look at any restaurants or any successful business in general, they started off as either one person or one store or one group of people, and then they hired leaders as they expanded, and those leaders came to them with ideas, little ideas. And those ideas helped them to the next level at certain points. So we need you to be innovators coming up with those ideas. How do we operate better? How do we train better? How do we nurture better? How do we develop our people better? Right? You guys are on the front lines. You see everything. You know the drill. You know what's there, what's missing, what's not, what we need. So your ideas matter. And so going into that, I want to reset. As leaders, let's reset. Everyone's successful here, right? Everyone has a successful restaurant they work at. You work for a successful brand, but I want to reset that mindset and say, okay, we're not here to focus on today. We're here to focus on the future. How do we make sure we stay successful? And not only stay successful, but thrive. The government's making it harder than ever to run a business. You guys feel that, right? How do we make it successful? The number one thing to combat taxes, to combat raise wages, to combat fines and all that good stuff is more sales. More sales cures all. How do we get more sales? How do we get more people in the door? How do we get them spending more? Because there's brands that are doing it, right? Dishoom, line out the door, every single location, correct? They don't have anything special going on except they have mastered the system of their experience and hospitality. So moving forward here, guys, we have one mission, and that mission is experience, guest experience. This is our number one mission. This is why we exist as a group. We do not exist to serve food. We do not exist to serve wine. We're not a place where you can come and eat. We are an experience. You come in and you're going to have an experience through and through. And that's what's made your brand successful. High energy atmosphere. Walk in, the energy is crazy. It's a scene. It's fun. That's what's made us successful. We have to make sure that that's the number one thing we're focused on. The guest experience is everything. And we have to have a guest-first mindset when we're doing that. Our mindset, first and foremost, has to be about the guest. That's our number one focus, our number one mission, the guest experience. That's what we obsess over. And that's what every employee obsesses over. Any position obsesses over this. If you're clearing tables, you're obsessed over this. If you're running food, you're obsessed over this. Guest experience. But it's about framing. How are we framing it to our employees? Are we saying your job is guest experience, or are we saying your job is to run food? Because those are two different framings. And if we think like everyone else, we're going to get everyone else's results. If we operate like everyone else, we're going to get everyone else's results. If we're saying, well, we serve food, but it's really good food, and it's a really nice atmosphere, and really friendly service, we're going to get everyone else's results. We have to become a class of our own. We have to get into a class of our own. And it's going to rely heavily on our training and how we develop our people. And I want to talk about infinite versus finite mindset. Can anybody tell me what infinite means? Endless. Do you guys agree with that? Yes, sir. You guys agree with that? Yes, sir. Infinite is endless. What about finite? It ends. Yes. When you wake up in the morning, you have an infinite amount of energy, or a finite amount of energy before you have to go back to sleep. Do you guys agree with that? Yes, yes. Do you guys agree with the back there? So, infinite versus finite mindset, short-term versus long-term. This is going to be the difference between a good leader and an exceptional leader. First of all, Microsoft versus Apple. Microsoft is always thinking about how to beat Apple. Apple's always thinking about an innovation. And Apple's always innovating. Microsoft has relied on the same products they've had, basically. Teams, Windows, right? Apple's constantly trying to evolve. They created the iPhone. They created the iPod. They created apps. They created iTunes. They created podcasts. Think of all of those things they've created that we use in our everyday lives to make our lives better, to enjoy our lives more. Now name what Microsoft has created. Right? It's all about innovation, and the numbers show. Apple sales show. Blockbuster and Netflix. Does anybody remember Blockbuster? Yeah? So do you think Blockbuster was in a room like this with all of their leaders saying, this stupid Netflix thing, they think that's the future. And then their leaders are like, what a bunch of idiots. We have it down. We know what we're doing. We have a successful business model. We know best. Netflix will die. We will be successful. It's another fad. We know better. And then when Netflix was the future and they knew it was the future, then they were like, Blockbuster Plus? Blockbuster Plus? You want to buy it? Blockbuster Plus? And it was too late. Way too late. And now it's this case study, right? Blockbuster extinct. They had the lead. They had the money. They had the name recognition. They had everything except the mindset, the innovation. They're stuck in their ways, sitting there going, I know best. I already know what I'm doing. I'm already successful. Why would I need to change? Who still has a MySpace account? It's okay. Don't be embarrassed. One person. Thank you, sir, for your honesty. 2 people. Thank you, sir, for your honesty. So, MySpace, first to market. The innovators, right? They were first to market. They were the innovators. But how did they lose the battle? It's because they're focused on the wrong things. They weren't innovating the right way. Microsoft or MySpace was saying, how do we get more subscribers? How do we get more subscribers? Facebook said, how do we get more attention? If we get their attention, and we can keep their attention as long as possible, all the subscribers will come, all the money will come. Those are two different mindsets. Not that far apart, by the way. Two different mindsets, hundreds of billions of dollars apart. So that's why infinite versus finite matters. And so we've got to look at it this way. What is the demand in the market right now, right? A successful business finds a demand in the market, creates a product that they can sell to the market, and then sells it to the market. That's what a successful business is. What's the demand in the market right now? Is there a shortage on food? Is there a shortage on restaurants? No. Is there a shortage on variety of restaurants? Am I like, man, there's just not enough Italian places? So the demand in the market right now isn't food. I can go get food anywhere. I was not traveling here going, where am I going to eat? Right? I hope there's a restaurant in the vicinity of where I can land and I can have somewhere I can eat. That's not an issue I had. I know I can go, there'd be a million restaurants in all the different categories, and I just take my pick. The demand I know in my head, and I truly believe, was, am I going to get a hospitality experience? Am I going to get taken care of? Am I going to leave there in a better mood than I came out? Because that's our goal, right? Does anybody here go to a restaurant like hoping to leave in a worse mood? Are you like walking into the restaurant going like, man, this good mood is giving me a headache. I need someone to take it down a notch. I know just a place. We are here to give people escapism, to provide escapism. We are here to honor them by making sure they leave in a better mood than where we found them. That's why we exist. We're here to give a great experience. Bottom line, period. And so if we're not doing that, then what are we doing? And if we're not focused on that, measuring that, monitoring that, making that our obsession, making that we're talking about, what are we doing? And so we have to be not only the place that gives the best food and the best ambiance, but also the best experience. Because that's where all the restaurants fumble on the 10-yard line. And I want to use Chick-fil-A as a case study. This is a really simple case study. Chick-fil-A is a huge franchise in the United States. Okay, and in 2001, Chick-fil-A was doing $1 billion a year. So they were pretty successful. They were growing well, and they were growing fast. But they had a problem. McDonald's and KFC, Yums brands, were seeing this and saying, we got to crush these guys. They're officially a problem. They're officially a threat, so we have to crush them or we have to buy them. But we have to get rid of them. Chick-fil-A said, how do we become indestructible? How do we become unstoppable? How do we become bulletproof? How do we stop them from being able to do that? Because McDonald's and Yums brand have a lot more money than we do. They have the potential to take us out if they really wanted to. How do we become unstoppable? So they said, we have three options. Number one is we can become the cheapest. And no one wants to race to the bottom. So they didn't want to do that. Number two, we can become the best. Unanimously the best, right? And that's reserved for the 0.00001%. There's so many things that get involved when you're saying, I internationally want to be known as the best. Number three, what if we just gave people what they wanted? What if we just gave the market what the demand was giving us a demand? What if we give the market what they want, what they truly want, which is hospitality, consistency, comfort. That's what I want. That's what everyone in this room wants. When I walk into a business, I just want to get what I'm expecting. I want to get the same thing I got last time. I want to get something where I feel valued. That's it. So they said, let's do hospitality. Let's make hospitality and guest experience our number one focus. Now, it's really important to understand, if you don't know what Chick-fil-A is, fast food, fried chicken sandwich. Their number one competitor is KFC. They serve the same thing, fried, fast food, chicken sandwich, QSR. So imagine 2001 when they said, we're going to focus on hospitality. We're going to be the best at hospitality, not just in QSR, but in the business. We want to be in the business known to have the best hospitality. And everyone said, you're crazy. Look at your number one competitor, McDonald's, the number one restaurant in the world. They don't give hospitality, they give an experience, or they give transactional service. But Chick-fil-A knew they believed in what they were doing, 100%. They said, this is the future. They're innovators. Even though everyone was telling them they were wrong, they were innovators and said, this is the future. And they pushed all of their chips in. And they hired the Ritz-Carlton to create their training, systems, and leadership. And they invested a lot of money and a lot of time into this. And fast forward to 2026, and they're worth $25 billion annually. That's $1 billion theoretically they've added every single year since they started working with the hospitality mentality. Now, here's something that's really important to understand. I want to put this in more perspective for you. KFC is worth $34 billion last year. Chick-fil-A did $25 billion. KFC is a winner, correct?
Depends how much they did the year before.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. But think about this. They did it with 1/10 the locations. That means per unit, Chick-fil-A is absolutely crushing KFC. It's not even a competition. When the margin's this big, this is no longer a competition. There's no longer first place and second place. This is just a category of their own. They compete with themselves. There's no one competing with them. It's not even close. Per unit, they're crushing them. Growth metrics, they're number one. Customer loyalty, they're number one. In their niche, fried chicken, they're number one. In the United States, they're number one. And they're closed on Sundays. This brand does not open on Sundays because they're a Christian brand, so they won't open on Sundays. So they're doing all these crazy numbers, all this crazy success, and they're doing it 6 days out of the week. They're doing it with one hand tied behind their back. How? Are they the cheapest? No. Are they the best? Definitely not. They actually came out and had a report that they're adding chemicals to their food to make it cheaper and taste more addictive. Guess what that did to their sales? Nothing. Zero. People just didn't care. And they weren't the cheapest still. They weren't the best. So why do they have so much success? Because of hospitality. They give you hospitality experience. How do they give their hospitality experience? Because I hear a lot about Gen Z. I hear a lot about staff being hard to train. A lot about people not wanting to be in the industry. I can tell you this much. There's nobody, even in the United States, who's saying, man, I hope my kid works at a fast food place. There's no kid who's in high school going like, oh, I can't wait till I run a McDonald's one day. It's not sought after. And it's Gen Z. Their average age of employee is 17 years old. In some states, it's 14. So they have Gen Z. They have a part-time job that they're getting, that people are signing up for. It's a part-time job, and it's a low-desired job. No one wants to work at fast food. It's looked down upon in any country. So why? How are they so successful? Because how do they develop their people so well? Because when you go to a Chick-fil-A, I'll tell you this much. You can look it up online. They have the #1 customer loyalty index. When you go to Chick-fil-A, I'll give you an example, actually. I was walking to a Chick-fil-A. I went into a Chick-fil-A the other day, and there's a kid sweeping in the front. He couldn't have been more than 16 years old. And he's sweeping like this, sweeping. And I walked up, and as soon as he saw me, he looked over, and then he did a double take, and then he grabbed the door right away. First thing, just goes straight for the door right next to him, pulls it open. Welcome. How's your day so far? That's what he did. That was his instant reaction when he saw me walking up. Now, you have a 16-year-old kid here who could have been sitting there sweeping, oh, this sucks, right? Like, I should be an influencer. Having the wrong mentality, right? But he was trained in a culture, cultivating a culture where when he's doing that, he's doing it with pride, and then when he sees someone, he smiles and he opens the door. Welcome. I go to the front, another kid taking my order, smiling the whole time he's taking my order. The whole entire time. Hi, how are you today? Welcome. I sit down, and I'm eating with a friend, and they're busy, by the way. Another kid walks up in a Chick-fil-A outfit, walks up. Do you mind if I take this trash out of your way so you guys can enjoy your conversation more? Did you guys want any refills? Like sometimes I don't even get that type of experience at a steakhouse. And when you go into a Chick-fil-A, I can tell you this much, I can guarantee you this much. You're never going to go to a Chick-fil-A and walk up, and the person at the counter is going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know where that button is. I'm sorry, I'm new. Can you help me with this button, please? Can you help me? You'll never get that interaction, ever, because they train their people so well. You'll never get someone have a negative attitude or even a hint of negative. And I always tell people, I'm like, go into Chick-fil-A. When I tell people to go in there, I'm like, go check it out. Go into Chick-fil-A and go ask for 10 sauces in a row. Just can I get one more? Thank you. Can I get one more? Thank you. Can I get one more? Thank you. And see if you can get them to crack. You won't. I've tried. And there's another thing they do. When you say thank you at Chick-fil-A, they will always, every single time, say my pleasure. Every single time. It's a joke in the United States. They make jokes out of it. There's a joke where like someone's taking your order at the drive-thru outside, and they say thank you, and the guy says you're welcome, and then he quickly fixes it. My pleasure. I said my pleasure. And a Chick-fil-A van pulls up, and guys in black outfits put him in the van, and then a new employee comes up, and they're like, anything else? That's how serious they take it. I have a 6-year-old, or my friend has a 6-year-old daughter. She had a birthday for her. At the end of the birthday, everyone's coming up to my friend saying, thank you for having us over. Thank you for inviting us. And she kept saying, my pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. And her daughter, 6 years old, walks up to her and says, Mommy, what do you think? You work at Chick-fil-A? But I want you to think of the power of that marketing. Because that's not a jingle that you heard on a commercial or an app or on a YouTube video. That was what she heard so consistently when she would go to Chick-fil-A that she identifies that with the brand. That's the power of consistency. And I want to ask you guys this. How long do you think it took them because by the way, the My Pleasure thing is ripped out of Rich Carlton's playbook. Right? Rich Carlton, you go to Rich Carlton, you say, thank you, my pleasure. So, how long do you think it took them to enact that company-wide, where everyone says my pleasure every single time? Any guesses? 6 months. Any other guesses? What about that table back there? Any guesses? 3 weeks. 3 weeks. That table? Any guesses? 1 week. Back here at this table? 1 year. 1 year. That was the closest. It took 2 years for them to get the whole entire company to say my pleasure every single time, every single employee. 2 years. The reason I'm telling you that is because this stuff takes commitment, guys. You can't just do something and act a new change and then go, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. No one's doing it. It doesn't work. It's too hard. It's too much. It takes time to create change, especially company-wide. But we have to have that dedication. So Chick-fil-A is a shining example of this. And I want to talk about Chick-fil-A one more time, guys, because we're going to go into standards here in a minute. But Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. They do $25 billion a year. They're closed on Sundays. They're independently owned, by the way. They're still owned by the same family. They do $25 billion a year. I want you to imagine how many times someone came up to them and said, if you guys just open on Sundays, we'll unlock billions of dollars. Billions, overnight. More money than most businesses will ever make in their entire existence. We can unlock overnight by just opening on Sundays. Come on, we're a business, guys. Let's do this. And they said no. They go, imagine how much money you're losing. Every single year, how much money you're losing by being closed on Sundays. But my argument is maybe the reason why they've made so much money in the first place is because they're closed on Sundays. Because they're willing to never deviate from their standards. We will not deviate from our standards. Our standard, we do this for a reason. It's for a standard. We will not deviate from money. And if they're willing to hold their standard so firm, publicly, where we can all see how much money it's costing them to hold that standard, imagine the standards are holding behind the scenes. It's living proof. So standards, consistency, and innovation are everything, guys. We got to talk about rewiring mindsets when it comes to hospitality. Because again, when I went to that Chick-fil-A, I actually had gone to a a fine dining restaurant about a month before that. A famous fine dining place. And I felt more valued at that Chick-fil-A than I did at that fine dining place. Because guess what? Fine dining, they were nice. And they were smiling the whole time. And they were professional. And they knew all the names of the ingredients in every single dish that came out. And they could pronounce every single ingredient. But there was a fakeness and a hollowness to the hospitality. It wasn't hospitality, by the way. It was just really nice service. I can guarantee you the server, and maybe even the manager thinks it's hospitality, but it's not. Just really nice service. Because he didn't ask me one single question about myself. How could you possibly give someone hospitality if you don't ask them a single question? Not one. First time here, nothing. How am I supposed to give a personalized experience, a hospitality experience, if I don't ask you a question? What I'm doing is I'm going over steps, and I'm being transactional. That's just service. If I'm doing transactional and I'm doing nothing to change it up, and I'm just going through steps and motions, that's service. I'm just being transactional. It's not an experience. Those are two different things, and we're going to go over that later. But when I went to Chick-fil-A, I felt more valued, truly more valued. I enjoyed my experience better. I left in a better mood at Chick-fil-A than I did with that fine dining restaurant. Yet with that fine dining restaurant, I paid 100 times more. There's a problem there. And so we want to talk about hospitality. How does Chick-fil-A do it? How does Chick-fil-A get young people doing a job that no one wants to do, that's the most transactional or transcending job that you can get? How do they get them bought in giving this hospitality experience, right? Because I hear that complaint all the time. It's the staff. They're not bought in, right? They don't like this job is a part-time job. No one wants this job. People look down. There are all these excuses, but this company has every excuse to fail, and yet they succeed at the highest level possible. How do they do it? And that's with 3,300 locations, guys. 3,300. And they do it across state lines. How do they do it? And it's because they train on mindset, not mechanics. I want you to think of hospitality like this, iceberg. Everyone knows what an iceberg is. You go up to an iceberg on a boat, you see it, it's magnificent, right? It's a vision to behold. Underneath the water, what no one sees, and everyone knows this, is 10 times the size of that iceberg sitting underneath it, keeping it afloat. But you never see that bottom piece. And this is what I want you to look at hospitality like. The top of it is mechanics. Say this, not that. Serve from this way, not that way. Bring out the forks then. Smile really big. Say thank yous when you're leaving, right? All these mechanics of hospitality. But underneath it's a mindset. Are we actually training the true mindset of it? Because that's a big freaking difference. The mechanics, easy part. That's transactional, right? That's why kitchens are so successful and front of house isn't. What I mean by that is when you go to a restaurant, you're like, the food comes out the same every single time, but the experience is always different. Or it's just lackluster, or it just sucks. But the food comes out consistent every single time. Restaurants get food down much faster than hospitality because food is based on mechanics. Hospitality is based on mindset. And so going into that, service versus hospitality. Can anybody tell me what service is in their words? Customer